and get started, because we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today.
All right, well, we'll get it kicked off here, and good. Looks like Justine's on it. She's got our agenda here with the information for our guest speaker, and as Dean said, I will be introducing Craig, who will introduce Jenny. But we are certainly grateful to Jenny for being on with us. And looks like there for a second before all the faces got minimized, that was a lot of tan faces. So it looks like people have been having a good July 4th, and I hope everyone's in some air conditioning right now. So thank you for being on. And in the spirit of introducing Craig, I think a lot of people on this call already know Craig, have already interacted with Craig. Craig came on in place of Aaron Oots probably late last year, and is in charge of our entrepreneur ecosystem efforts for TATT at the Top. And Craig comes to us from California, where Craig has been involved in economic development and city council government. He's been the owner of a restaurant, director of business incubator efforts. He is really a great fit, a great addition to the upstate, a great fit with TATT at the Top. And so Craig, glad to see you. It's hasn't been too long since I've seen you last, and I've seen a lot of efforts on social media right now. It seems like you guys have been busy just this week. So Craig, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, David. Yes, it's been a very good week, and we have more coming. Lots of good events in the works. So I feel like we're on a roll. Took me a few months to get my feet under me, but I feel like we're going and making some good progress with our upstate entrepreneur ecosystem. So Jenny and I met. She took a meeting with me, and she had no good reason to, because being from Fresno, California, she had a lot of other things to do, but she was nice enough to meet with me anyway. We'd met at Laura Hudson's annual Main Street meeting in Greenwood, and you know, the thing that I've always said about people with Main Street, I think I've been in a conference with 2,000 people or so at a Main Street conference, and I looked out and I thought, there is not a mean bone in this group. It is just a group of people that really care about their community, and they care about local businesses and small shops, and you know, they just want to make their communities a better place for everyone. So she really epitomizes that. We're very lucky to have her in South Carolina. She's really put together a great group of Main Street cities and Main Street leaders within each community, and is a really great resource for us. So I'm big in the fan club, and I'm really glad that I've gotten to know you and call you friend, and I appreciate you taking the time for us this month. And then we're going to do another event with you next month, and get to see you in person on August 11th. So appreciate the time you're giving us for TATT at the Top.
You're absolutely welcome. Do I just go ahead and share the screen? Do I have privilege? Okay. Yes. All right, let's see. All right, so this was a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the region, and then talk briefly about what we're doing across the state in collaboration with partners like TATT at the Top. So I wanted to start with a little bit of a story. Here's a picture dated way long ago. This is 2005. I have a big belly. This was my due date for our first child. And here I am working the barbecue festival, which I was in charge of in Lawrence, South Carolina. So I was the director of the nonprofit for 6 years, from 2000 to 2006. And in 2006, my husband had an opportunity to take on a teaching position at WVU. So we left with one child and came back to South Carolina in 2018 with 4 children. So we have added to the population here in South Carolina. But I wanted to share this just as a backdrop to kind of this whole message about Main Street and the impact that we can have as individuals. It was a big win this past year when our oldest, who was that firstborn, he's in the back in the cool shades, he had put together his Christmas list and said at the bottom, an asterisk, and anything cool you find in your downtowns. I thought, okay, we have turned a corner here, and he's been with me to several downtowns. Actually, all the kids have, but it's really important that this is a family affair. Laura just had their big festival, and a lot of families participate in volunteering, but being a part of supporting the Main Street work is really important. So what I wanted to do today is talk briefly about the Main Street in general. So Main Street is different and unique than other traditional economic development programs because it is place-based and historic preservation-based. And it's also heavily involved with volunteer commitment. It's a 4-point approach, which I'll go into shortly, but this is all about economic development at the heart of everything that we do, but it's fun economic development. So the big difference between more of your shopping center dynamics, your bypass area for recruitment, which we need. Downtown dynamics for our recruitment efforts relate to that one-on-one interaction with the small business owner, helping them find the perfect location with the right square footage, and helping them build out that message that they're a part of that downtown district. We're looking at fostering vibrancy in the downtown district. So this is about professional management and professional relationships with your small business community. We are part of the national network. We are housed in the Municipal Association of South Carolina, which is based out of Columbia. We are the only coordinating program on behalf of Main Street America that is housed in this fashion. Typically, a coordinating program is within a Department of Commerce, State Historic Preservation Office, or a standalone nonprofit. So this is a really unique experience that we have being a part of the Municipal Association. It helps us build relationships and strengthen those with our city administrators, our city council members, and other elected officials. But here we are on the map. There are 45 other coordinating programs across the nation. At some point, we'll be able to put a star on Puerto Rico. That is next on National's radar. Main Street is not just a coordinating program coming in. Main Street, South Carolina does not go into the community and have a magic wand and helping to do all the stuff immediately. It's all about collaboration and intentional work. So at the heart of this work is the local revitalization efforts. So this is a local community declaring that they want to be a part of this, that they want to see change, that they want to grow the vitality of their community. Around that, circle is Main Street, South Carolina. We are the coordinating program that provides resources and guidance on those initiatives. And then we have our national Main Street America that furthers those resources on a national level. So this is the year that we celebrate our 40th anniversary. It's been a long journey and we still get moments where people say, and you are? We're working heavily to remedy that. We have some tremendous stories that I'll share here through our slide deck, but we started in 1983 with a visionary, Ben Boozer, that was hired to take the Main Street program to a starting position. And we had, at that time, I think it was over a 10-year period, we started to build out different programs to assist smaller communities, maybe 500 in population, with some targeted resources. And we also started to build out relationships and programs for those larger municipalities over 50,000. Today, we work with 33 communities, and that's growing. I just had an email from Clennon. So if Clennon's on here, I'll be talking with you shortly. So for this region, for 10 at the top, we have relationships with 7 communities, Greenwood, Lawrence, Walhalla Central, Fountain Inn, Inman, and Gaffney. And what's so cool about this region is that every single one of these communities that we work with is so vastly different from one another. The assets are unique, the people are unique, but they all have that end goal of revitalization for their downtown district. So our role is to be a support, much like 10 at the top. We don't do all of the work. We do work at the state level, cobbling together all sorts of partnerships and tools and programmatic things that can be of help at the local level, but we're not in the community every day. That's the local community's need. People always ask us, well, why downtown? Why not citywide? Downtown, you have to have that focus. Main Street is preservation based, and so that's where we have the largest mix of historic properties. So we're focusing on reactivating those buildings and getting them to their highest, best use. Typically, your downtown district is that litmus test of the downtown or the community overall's ability to grow and ability to attract others. So if downtown does not look good and does not feel good, then people will not invest further. It's quality of life and local pride. Furthermore, downtown is a huge tool for recruitment. So if you're looking for that big industry, or if you're looking for that mom and pop that everybody wants to have in their community, downtown is where you are focusing. You're bringing them to that space. You're going out to dinner at that downtown area. You're walking the streets with, having those conversations with the local clientele. So there are 8 guiding principles. I'm not going to go through all of them. The biggest one is changing attitudes. That whole notion where people say, why? Why would you even do this? Downtown is never going to be what it used to be in the 1950s. One of the ones that I appreciate the most for the guiding principles is changing attitudes. So you'll have 20% of the people that will say, I love this. This is amazing. Let me be a part of it. Then you'll have 20% that will always be that negative Nelly on social media, just poking, constantly poking, just because they can, just because that's who they are. And those 20% are sometimes hurtful and frustrating. But what we're trying to do with Main Street is focus on that 60 plus the 20. So those 20% that are super positive and that 60% that's kind of like, I kind of like what you're doing. Tell me more. We want more of that. We want that 60% to teeter over into the positive extra 20% too. This is a smattering of the brand marks of several of our Main Street communities. You can see that they all have a different take on their downtown districts. Each one is unique to those assets that are present in their community. When I came in 2018 at the state level, we had evaluated, I had done like a goodwill tour to talk with communities about why they were stepping away from Main Street or why they had stepped away a decade ago to see what we could be doing to rebuild that relationship and strengthen the network. And so we learned that we needed to provide better and more opportunities to participate. So we came up with this 4-part area of opportunity. So Friends is the basic level where you're coming to our trainings. We have quarterly trainings and you learn about Main Street. We do not infuse major resources into the community at this point, but you have access to all the things that others do, minus some of the larger grants that we provide. The aspiring level is for those communities that are committing to the 3-year startup, where they will be working with the local team to build capacity to manage the Main Street program and get it to that level of stability and forward thinking. Classic level, those are those communities that are in between, they're closing out their aspiring time, or they've been in Main Street for a long time, and they're not quite ready for accredited designation. And so these are communities that might have one area of the Main Street approach that needs a little bit more love. The accredited communities, we have 6 currently in South Carolina, and that tells you that it's a really robust category to be in, where there are higher thresholds that have to be met. Not only are you meeting national standards, you're exceeding them and you become a mentor in your region. So those accredited communities include Lawrence, Aiken, Greenwood, Hartsville, Florence, and most recently is Orangeburg. And they're working through a transition with a new director. And then we also have this other category I wanted to bring in here because this is an important one to know. An important one to know too. The Great American Main Street Award, we now have 2 that are designated here in South Carolina. The most recent one was Florence this past year. They received that designation in March when we were in Boston. This is huge for our state. This demonstrates not only that South Carolina is on the map and our downtown districts are starting to make some amazing progress, but it shows that other communities in South Carolina can also pursue this level of achievement. The first community that received this in South Carolina was Greenville in 2003. So this is 20 years in the making for Florence to follow. Accreditation standards, these are 6 national requirements that if communities want to pursue this, we walk through a whole discussion about what that looks like and how they are packaging their local initiatives in a way that allows for them to share those with their peers. Main Street, I say this often and I don't say it enough, I think, but it's all about awareness. What is your district composition? What do you have? What don't you have? And why? It's about accountability. So if you say you're going to be working on something in the planning stages, tell the community why you're doing that. And if you can't, tell them why as well. Be very transparent about the work that you're doing and the challenges that you might have, and then achievement. So you're never done with Main Street. We've had some communities that say, I've done Main Street. We can hang up our hat on that. And I'll say, but you've got these other blocks that might be disadvantaged. It's a forever work. And I also note that, if a mayor has a really good year, the next year the community's not going to be like, we don't need a mayor anymore. He did a great job. We're exactly where we need to be forever. Very similar to the Main Street approach. It's constant attention and focus. And I'll pause here for a minute on this slide. Last year, so we in Main Street, we have our communities calculate reinvestment statistics every month. And at the end of the year, we share this with national, but we capture it at our state level. And I believe we had just 20 communities that were reporting all these details, and over $170 million was invested in just 20 Main Street communities in South Carolina. That is a lot. It shows that folks are invested, both private and public. So municipal leaders are saying, yes, we want to put benches, or we want to add some landscaping to this area. New jobs, over 400 new jobs in 20 communities. That's amazing. And then the volunteer hours, over 20,000 volunteer hours were committed. Sorry, I was taking a look at the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. So healthy Main Streets, what makes for a healthy Main Street? Number one, they define who they are. So if I say I'm going to Aiken, in your mind, what do you think about? Do you think horses? Do you think walkable? Do you think alley? Do you think, what are the things that draw you to that downtown district? They're also constantly giving attention to their purpose. So mission driven, focusing on that economic development and the work plan ideas that they prioritized. They're telling their stories. They're not just building it and then thinking, okay, people are going to come and figure it out. They're reminding people, hey, I just had a wonderful meal downtown. Come check it out. Celebrate this new business with us. Here's a feature about a local volunteer that committed to assist us with a particular project. Come join us. We're always building out leadership. So board members, after a while, sometimes they'll say, okay, I've been here for 3 years, maybe 30 years. I need to move along. So we always want to be nurturing, it's almost like Legos, the 8-year-old to the 80-year-old. We want those younger folks to be growing in Main Street and recognizing that they have a role to play, not only at a board member level, but just, committing to celebrating the district with us. Also, Healthy Main Street's positioned downtown as the center. This is where everybody is welcome. This is where activities are programmed. From, the picture on the left is downtown Florence, where they had yoga sessions in the morning, free yoga sessions. On the right, we've got a picture of downtown Lawrence when they hosted their 4th of July activities. So getting people to get comfortable and confident downtown is a major area of a Healthy Main Street. It's a cycle. So every couple years, you want to test the community and say, how are we doing? What are your needs? Why are you shopping elsewhere? What do you love about our downtown district? What could we be expanding on? Rinse, recycle, repeat. Always at that core, though, is that 4-point approach. So downtown needs to look good. That relates to design. Does it function well? Do we have weird sidewalks that are all chopped up and we're tripping over them? Promotion is relating to how we're celebrating the downtown district. How are we identifying what we are? This is not just events. We are not event planners. Main Street directors and programs are usually the best party planners in the nation. We know how to throw a great party. We know how to clean up a great party, but we do more than that. And it's really important that we don't become too heavy on that event side of things, because that's not sustainable. That you need to have an event team that participates in this. Organizationally, this is that public-private partnership. The private entity is not going to be able to do this on their own, nor is the public side of things. This has to be mutually approached together. And economic vitality, this is really knowing what your market is. People might say, oh, we really need, the pizza shop. to come downtown. Well, do you really? Maybe that pizza shop works best where it is, and there's something else that can be a connector to the pizza shop that would then draw more people to the downtown district. So knowing specifically what it is that you should be recruiting, and helping to retain those really strong businesses and legacy businesses that you have. So Main Street is dope. We look at design. This is building improvement. So, you know, the historic fabric of our downtown districts, we have a lot of slip covers in our communities. We have boarded up windows. We want to find ways to remove those and get more people to live upstairs. So finding ways to do that. Design education. So what does it mean to invest in a downtown building? And what are the design issues that you need to think about? You know, functioning windows. How do we get back to that again? Organization, you know, being very intentional about programming for your organization. You know, what are your initiatives? Not just, we're going to make downtown amazing. Okay, but how? You have to really think through specifically, what are those action items relating to making that happen? These are some images relating to promotion. These are events, but we're also going back to thinking through measurement. And I've got a slide here about Greenwood shortly. Economic vitality, you know, property management, property development, maybe there's some infill opportunities. So I'm going to highlight several communities that are in the top region. Lawrence has a population of over 9,000. They had 9 million invested in the last, how many years? Let's see, since 2013. What's crazy is that 8 million of that was in the last 2 years. That's intense. 75 new jobs have come to the downtown district in 3 years, and 20 new businesses as well. This is a great image of the Bailey building in downtown Lawrence overlooking the historic square. This is the 3rd floor. What you see around it, the perimeter of this interior image is the building in construction. And what you see pictured in the center is its completed space. And if Jonathan's on, I believe this space now has, it's an event venue. It holds a lot of people. Square footage wise, it's one of the larger buildings in the downtown district, but it now has new life, whereas it did not have full functionality or use for decades. They've also had a lot of these great buildings restored and rehabilitated, and now filled with really quality restaurants and boutiques. And if you've been to downtown Lawrence, you remember this one corner block. This particular building had been abandoned for quite some time, and this is what it had looked like up until about 2014, 2015. And this is what it looks like today. Amazing. This is right on the corner of 2 major highways. So before and after, that is a much more inviting entry to the downtown district. Fountain Inn, this is another wonderful story about the work that's being done in this community. They are one of our newer aspiring communities. They're wrapping up their 2nd year as an aspiring Main Street, South Carolina community. They are a city department. Lawrence is a nonprofit. Fountain Inn is a city department. And look at those numbers. 1 million invested in the downtown district in 2022, just in Fountain Inn. 19 rehabs and 7 new businesses. And then you may have seen this before. This was one of their industrial buildings downtown that now has Voodoo Brewing, one of my favorites. What was cool in Fountain Inn, and if Austin or any of the other team members are on, we can talk about this later, but they used their ARPA dollars to assist with design in the downtown district to help reinfuse dollars and provide some financial support to those businesses and building owners to make some major dramatic changes in the downtown district. Walhalla, we have a new director in Walhalla, and between the 2 directors, there's been a lot of really neat programming. Previous director had worked on some adding park benches. These had been, I believe, in a mall, kind of, you know, stored off to the side. And so they came up with an art project where community members could adopt a bench and a flower, you know, Garden of the Gods. That's Walhalla's name. Origin. And so having these flower features on these benches and having the benches interspersed throughout the downtown district has been really colorful, a great addition to that downtown area. You know, asking this basic question, what types of businesses do we need? Well, look here, 94 comments. People have something to say. Ask them. Ask them in a way that you can, you know, curtail the negative Nellies and be prepared to deal with those as well. And what was really cool in Walhalla that they had hosted was a real estate conversation. So those folks that sell both commercial and residential were brought to the downtown district to learn more about the opportunities in this space, which is really important because that's a whole nother team of people that are going to be celebrating the downtown district as they welcome new families and new entrepreneurs. And then this is one that I really like that Katie had recently done. We often think, okay, when I look at a post, there's too much information on it. Just tell me one basic detail. Here we have when they all close. How cool is that? It's not their full hour of operation. Just get here by 12 a.m. if you're a late nighter. You know, gather uptown, get there by 8. So this was a really cool message that allowed for other people to see, you know, downtown in a different light, looking at those closing hours. Inman recently went through their resource team experience where Craig was with us for a portion of that time, as well as Laura and Jonathan. We evaluated their current programming and discussed ways that they could grow that and build out the local team. And they had a full brand package that has now been incorporated on a recent mural downtown. Greenwood. So Laura was talking earlier about some of the numbers from their event that was this past weekend, the Festival of Discovery. What's fantastic about this, when we think about events, we really want those events. We absolutely want them. But if you just have the event and don't think about the number of volunteer hours, the number of city employees that are touching that event, the number of people that are staying in your restaurants or staying in your hotels and eating at your restaurants, that is a lost opportunity. So just last year, they tracked $2.8 million from that one event. One event that is, Laura, 3 days. So this is really important metrics that our communities are working on. And in Central, one of our 10 at the top communities, they had this as part of the gateway. So coming from Clemson, driving into Central, this was a disused garage area that has recently been turned into a CrossFit, which makes sense, having that open air space. And then they've had, I believe, 7 new businesses open in the last several years in their downtown district. At the national level, there are abundant resources that you can tap into. They have the Main Street America Institute. We have Jonathan, who has received his MSARP. We have a lot of acronyms in this field, just like everybody else does, but it's your revitalization professional certificate or certification. Lots of courses about economic development, you know, building out your brand, better messaging with your community members. There are also foundation series that the National has provided. These are 15-minute 101s. So those 4 areas of Main Street, if you're not familiar with them, watch that 15-minute video and get more confident in them. And the next year, we will be hosting the national conference in Birmingham, Alabama, and that is open to everyone, May 6th through 8th. So we'd love to have South Carolina well represented there. Mentioned some of the technical assistance that we provide at the state level. One of the big ones is our quarterly trainings. Sometimes we have bonus trainings like this recent one that was focused on professional management. So if you're a nonprofit or even if you're a city department, how do you handle social media? How do you handle employee conflicts of interest? How do you package all of that to make your organization more professional in the way it approaches downtown revitalization? So we talked about policies and procedures, and Tripp did a great job because people stayed the whole day. You think policies and procedures sometimes can be very dry, but it was a very good interactive session. So we offer these once a quarter. Our next one will be September 21st in Kingstree. We host them in our Main Street communities. And so this will be a 1-day 10 till 4 session. Laura's going to be talking about Grow with Google opportunities. We will be talking about remote worker, how to capture those remote worker opportunities. And then Hannah in downtown Florence will be talking about data. How do we get it? How do we mine it? And how do we use it? Other resources, we have this economic incentives toolkit that you can download in PDF form. So if you're not familiar with the state historic tax credit, the federal historic tax credit, the Bailey bill, all of those are like little pullouts that you can learn a little bit more about. We do feature many of our Main Street communities on that as before and after examples. We shop SC. If you do not know about this, open up your phones, do a little note, look it up. check out Beyond Maine at We Shop SC. So we are building out a statewide online marketplace. This is an important tool for all small businesses across our state. So think of it like Amazon for South Carolina small businesses. So not quite that robust, but this is an opportunity for small businesses to be discovered beyond their local community. So we have 154 free profiles that have already been registered. I believe we have many more across the state that can get their free profiles included, but I've learned a lot about some of the businesses that I had never known existed. We've got some featured from Columbia recently as well. So please do check that out. If you want to learn more about that, reach out. I'm gonna close with this. So, how do you even get started? First and foremost, know your history. I featured this with Laura's group in Uptown Greenwood because Park Seed is a big part of their history. And so they have these topiaries. And they're not just simple topiaries. There's a whole build out for their purpose in the community. And so they're doing it as a nod to their history, but also reformulating that history to be relevant today. So I'm not saying go out and get some topiaries that fits Greenwood. What is your story and how can you build out some unique messages that relate to your journey in the downtown district? Have you had past studies done? Pull them off the shelf, dust them off. A lot of them have brilliant guidance and recommendations from previous consultants that are still valid today. Instead of jumping in and having a real expensive experience of hiring new consultants, check out those older recommendations. Know your district. So how many buildings do you have downtown? How many are in full use? Do they have loading docks? How many parking spaces do you have downtown? Who are the partners in your district? What types of ordinances do you have that relate to your downtown development? All of these need to be known before you begin jumping into Main Street. And these are things that you can have conversations with local leadership on. So at the heart of what we do, we are working to improve the value of real estate. So economic development in the downtown district. When you have a vacant and abandoned building, it is doing nothing for your downtown district except allowing that district to continue to have tremendous apathy. So no matter the size of that building, it could be super tiny. It could be giant. People, when they see a building that's not being used, the lights aren't on, they will turn around in your district and walk back the other way, head straight to their car. So finding ways to work with those property owners and get them interested in finding new uses. And if they're not ready, put some really cool material in those storefronts, telling the story of that downtown district, getting it, in the public space in a more comfortable way. And I'll close with this one. Main Street programs, board members, volunteers, they are truly superheroes. These are the ones that were during COVID, cranking out creative solutions, working with each other, having great conversations, saying, hey, I saw you post this. How did you do that? Who was your partner? How can we do that in our own community? These directors are spending tremendous amounts of time, well beyond our typical work days, and they are the most creative geniuses in our state, and they absolutely should be celebrated. One really tremendously cool thing that has happened is that we recently were able to expand our leadership at the state level. And so we have welcomed Jonathan Eyrich as our staff associate at the state. And let me tell you, it has been awesome. So he has 17 years experience at the local level, being the Main Street director in Lawrence, and is able to have really rich conversations with peers across the state and some of the issues that they've had relating to mapping their downtown district, to how do I communicate better with our civic leaders who don't understand that, our business district is having a need that needs to be addressed. So it's really been phenomenal to have the team build out. And we are a great resource here in the upstate and across the state. So I will take any questions.
Well, before we go to questions, I thought we might have a little announcement.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll bring Dean in on this as well. So the last week, this week, I guess it was, the two of you signed a document.
Yes.
It is announcing a new partnership between 10 at the Top and South Carolina Main Street. So I thought I might set that up for you too. Slow pitch softball, talking about how we might work together and use our resources. And ultimately, just I think about imagining an upstate where every downtown has reached its full potential. And what would that do to the quality of life of our community, tourism, pride, economic development in every, form and fashion. And so I thought I'd bring both of you in to talk about that, a little bit more and how we see our two organizations overlapping. Jenny, you want to get started?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, we're stronger together. And actually, that was my last slide. I forgot I had one more, but, and that's part of your mission. You are 10 counties working together as one, and we can do so much more if we work together. And so our resources are limited. So are 10 at the tops. And if we unite together and cross-pollinate, we can build more robust messages that will carry a greater voice and have greater impact. So I'm excited about this.
Dean, you want to jump in?
Absolutely. Well, I will certainly echo everything that Jenny said. Those of you who have been engaged with 10 at the Top for a while know that community vibrancy is one of the 5 driver areas that we started working on at the very beginning more than a decade ago. And its idea was that each city, town, and village within the upstate has its own unique charm, character, and history. It is vital as we look toward the future to embrace and enhance these individual characteristics and features while also understanding how they collectively help give the region its own identity. And I won't go into the rest of it, but that kind of gives you exactly what Jenny talked about in her presentation, that every community has value and has its own uniqueness. And what I think 10 at the Top has tried to do, and we'll talk in a few minutes about the Elevate Upstate grants that we do with Hughes Investments, but has been to try to help in multiple ways to engage those communities and help support that vibrancy within communities. And certainly that is something that the Main Street program does in spades. And I think us coming together and partner is a natural kind of next step for the community vibrancy component of 10 at the Top. And I'm really excited, Craig, about your vision to kind of connect with Jenny and see that it was more than just a need for more than just every once in a while to talk, but rather to create a MOU and some plans down the road to really help our communities in the upstate connect those that aren't necessarily part of the Main Street program with the work that Main Street does, and hopefully to get to those levels that Jenny mentioned in her presentation. So I'm thrilled about this next step here, and also about next month when we will be in Simpsonville with Jenny. And I know we'll put that for the Upstate Connect, we'll put that information in the chat. But this is just a really good next step. And Jenny, thanks for being with us today and for this partnership. The good news is the best is yet to come.
Well said.
That's right. So what we're doing kind of tangibly is creating a network of all the downtown revitalization professionals in the upstate. So whether you're in Blacksburg or Liberty, wherever you are in the 10 counties, whether you work for a city or they're creating a nonprofit or it's a function of a chamber, whoever those people might be, as well as civic leaders, that we can take that information that is created by South Carolina Main Street, that they're getting out to their communities, and we can take that and amplify it and spread it out to the communities that they aren't able to reach. Again, with the goal of, just imagine an upstate where every downtown is just completely rocking. I don't think anything can touch it. it would be just the most incredible experience for anyone coming through. So really, that's the goal from my standpoint, is to really help spread the word and spread the resources and spread the best practices that are coming out of the cities that Jenny is already working in. So I'm super excited about this. So Jenny, what do you see happening in like the trends? Like when I started doing this, you know, work back, you know, way back when, you know, our big trend was that we were trying to get businesses to have a website.
Mm-hmm.
They'd never heard of it. Most of them didn't have computers, you know.
We're still facing that. We still face that.
Oh,
People
no.
don't have a website. Yeah. So, and that was partly why we built out the We Shop SC, because we kept saying, get online, just get online. And then they would get online, sort of, but they wouldn't touch it. They being any small business or, you know, any entity in our downtown district. And so they're out there going, hi, I'm here. And we thought if we had a statewide, it would be, we're here, you know, and it's a much more powerful presence, and it helps communities with smaller businesses that may not be able to have resources at their fingertips, have resources that are automatically easy. I mean, it takes 2 minutes to create your profile and boom, you're up there, and we find you. And then if they want to do e-commerce, so we still are pretty heavy on e-commerce. Communities, you know, we might see a recession, and to prepare for that, being able to think about how you are dealing with your inventory. What do you plan to do with excess items, and not just claim them as a loss, but how can you turn them around to having a different value add? And e-commerce is one way to do that, because it helps you isolate some of those products as opposed to being in a larger display area. And we're starting to see more investment in tax credits too. There's a greater awareness about the value of those. The projects are not small. And Jonathan can talk about the one with the Bailey building, because the pair of the owners didn't realize that it was going to cost as much, and they were grateful that they had the ability to tap into the tax credits and stack all of the incentives to make that project pencil out. I don't know if you want to say anything, Jonathan.
Jonathan, that was you.
Sorry, I thought you were just going to go ahead and explain it. So the property owners ended up spending about $2.3 million on the project. They originally thought it was going to be closer to $1 million, is really what they were expecting. Ended up being 2.3, and then with their tax credits were about 800,000. So it made that project much more doable for them. And the building now is really a feature for downtown Lawrence. That upper floor, called the Palmetto Room, is an event space, holds 250 people. Super nice place. And then the middle floor, the second floor, is the CPA law firm of the owners that own the building. And they have about 12 to 15 employees, and they try to bring in one new employee a year from Anderson University, which is where they both graduated from. So they're sort of keeping that cycle going as well, and want to invest more in downtown Lawrence, and are excited about the things that are happening in Lawrence. So that's really what we need, is more local investors that want to, you know, take a leap of faith really and make those opportunities happen.
Okay. Well, we sure thank you for being here, and I think we're going to go back to Justine and Dean, but I really appreciate you coming on, Jenny, and sharing that with us. And I will be putting in the chat the Community Connects event that we have coming up in Simpsonville on the morning of August 11th. Great to see you as always. And congratulations, Jonathan.
So real quick, and again, yes, thank you, Jenny, and Craig, thank you. Justine, if you can put up the slides, kind of as a segue, you know, I mentioned that community vibrancy has been a big component of TATT at the Top since the beginning. And one of those pieces is the Hughes Investments Elevate Upstate grants. And Riley, if you can go to the next slide. This is the information about the grants. More than 30 projects have been funded at some level over the last decade, well over $100,000 of initial investment, and some of them have really gone back tenfold and have continued to support and create vibrancy in their communities. Jonathan is probably the superstar of superstars in this area, having won the $5,000 award 3 times, the only one to win it 3 times for the city of Lawrence. And what is interesting, and we don't necessarily have time today, but he could tell you that they really started to use the vibrancy efforts as a component of their downtown revitalization plan. And the first one they received was for Finally Fridays music once a month in the city. And now I believe, Jonathan, you have music every Thursday and every Friday in Lawrence, right? And maybe even more than that now. I'm not aware, but you know, it really, the city of Greer started their international festival in 2014 and have had it now for the last decade. And they receive about $1 million a year of community impact or economic impact from that one event that started with a $5,000 vibrancy grant. So we are hosting the Elevate Upstate workshop, grant workshop on August 2nd. That's the right date, isn't it, Riley? August 2nd at, and we're going to have it at Bridgeway Station, which is a new effort in Malden. I see Mayor Terry Merritt is on with us from Malden, and it's a new effort there that's almost completely ready. And Hughes Investment is offering their 2 typical grants that will go to different communities. And then there's a third opportunity to have an event at Bridgeway Station and receive $5,000 to help you with that. And that may be more focused for community organizations rather than for a community itself. In fact, we're hosting our annual Blues, Brews, and Barbecue there on September 18th. So I would encourage you to join us for the workshop in early August. Riley has put the link to register for that. And if you have more information, you can see the link, and she has put that in the chat as well. So Justine, I will turn it over to you for the resource updates.
All righty, thank you, Dean. I have the ECHO project listed today, so I'm going to let, if Reagan is here and or maybe there's a substitute, I'm going to give them a second to speak. And in the meantime, we will hear from Karen Culbreth about the Period Project.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all doing? Thanks for the opportunity to join us today, and for us to join you all today. I want to share a little bit about the Period Project and share with you all why we are in existence and how you can assist us. The Period Project has been around since 2015, and we are a menstrual health organization that helps to align the needs of the community to ensure that we are providing the menstrual health products to young girls and women as they are experiencing period poverty. So we collect and we donate menstrual health products throughout the state of South Carolina. In 2022, the value of the products donated throughout the state of South Carolina was approximately $55,000. Of that, $26,000 was specifically given throughout the 11 counties in the upstate, or 10 counties in the upstate. And so that helped us to serve overall 42 South Carolina counties. And we also supported 396 schools and agencies. How we do that and why we focus on schools and agencies is because we find that young administrating girls comes to school without having the products that they need or may experience an emergency while in school. But then we also realize there's a good segment of individuals who are not in school and have a high absenteeism rate because of not being able to afford these products. We also see that in some of our entry-level positions. and it has an economic impact to the upstate. And so we try our best to put the products where individuals are already there in need so that they can easily access the products and be able to remain in school and continue to go to work. And so this sometimes looks very foreign to a lot of us who have never had the need for menstrual health product and support in that area. But for those who are facing period poverty, they see it as a relief and they're excited and happy that someone in the community is supporting them through this difficult time. Thus far in 2023, we've been able to put out about $21,000, almost $22,000 worth of product. In the state, that's $11,000, almost $12,000 that has been invested. And with that being said, we are looking to do much more as we go through here in this fiscal year. We have already serviced 34 counties in South Carolina and 319 schools. And so we do this with the donations of the public through grants and from foundations, as well as the volunteer base that we have of just individuals walking through our doors or coming up and placing donations in the box here at our offices on Woodruff Road. We are headquartered here in Greenville, although we do service South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, and Maryland through our volunteer chapters. You may have heard a lot about our advocacy efforts this last legislative session, in that we were able to get through the House unopposed from the subcommittee, the committee, and through the entire vote of the House to remove the sales tax from menstrual health products. Currently, South Carolina is one of 21 states that continues to tax menstrual health products. So we will be back at the State House this upcoming session to work with the Senate and ask them to put it on the agenda so that we can also be successful in that part of our legislative body and have it removed totally. So you may ask, how can you assist us in this effort? You can decide to volunteer. Volunteerism looks like coming in and packing menstrual health packs for students and our adult communities. Again, our focus is Title I schools. However, we do support all. And also, we are a supporter of our unsheltered population, those who are facing domestic violence, or anyone in our community that is facing period poverty. If you're not able to volunteer and you want to send a financial donation, you can do so through periodproject.org. Or if you want to meet us at the State House, or just write letters to your state, in this situation, your state senators, to share the importance of women not having the tax burden and allow us to be tax-free on menstrual health essentials, you can do that as well. So I thank you for the opportunity to present and share this information. I'll take any questions. And if you want to come by and visit us, please take an opportunity, give me a call and come by and visit. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. I had forgotten about the tax piece. That's so great. Congratulations. We were at an event recently. We have a lovely young lady who works with us this summer. She was Clemson, actually a high school intern last year, and now she's back. We're really lucky to have Riley DeWeese back working with us this summer. Might be the last summer, but we were at an event recently, and she was talking to another Clemson student, and that person had said, "Oh, I'm so excited to hear you do that because I've benefited from the work." So that was really neat. And Riley, I have to always brag on her, but she is the PR chair for Clemson University's Period Project chapter. So
yes, and we're happy to have Riley and her colleagues down there working very hard for the students at Clemson, in the Clemson area. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, everyone, we are giving you a couple minutes back in your day. We'll send a recap out to share the presentation. Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing that. It's really exciting. I'm always bugging Craig. What else? What else? How does it work? Tell me more about that. So we appreciate you all coming and hope to see you soon. As Craig mentioned, we do have the Upstate Connect in August, and Jenny will be here for that. And then our next TATT chat is going to be August 10th. So we hope to see you then. Thanks very much, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.